Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Precious Notiko. Here we talk all things academics, careers, CIMA and wellness. I am back with another video on academics. So if this is the kind of content that you're into, I kindly ask that you subscribe and also like this video and share it with someone who's going to find it helpful. So I'm going to be writing my CIMA exam in about a month's time. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the things that I am doing in preparation to that exam, and also how differently I am studying this year, balancing work with studying compared to how I studied last year as a postgrad student. So to just give you guys a bit of a background to those who are new to this channel, I studied my BCom finance degree at the University of Pretoria, and then I went on to do my postgrad in financial management at the University of Johannesburg last year. So I basically did the postgrad that was centered around CIMA, or it's a postgrad program that prepares you for the CIMA exams. And then this year I am doing my first year of articles as a CIMA trainee. I'm in the process of doing my strategic level. The plan is to do E3 this year, which is one of the CIMA exams. I'm taking the traditional route, which requires me to complete the strategic exams, which are P3, F3, and E3, P3, and F3, as well as the case study exam. The other three exams I'm going to take next year. This year I'm only taking the E3 exam, which is strategic management. If you want to know more about CIMA, I have a whole playlist called All Things CIMA that will let you know about all these levels that I'm talking about: management level, strategic level, how many CIMA exams are there. Everything that you need is on that playlist, so I highly suggest that you watch it. And if you guys have any questions after that, you can leave it on the comments of those videos. I can still see those comments and I will answer them. And one of the first obstacles that I encountered in my studies is that I had classes on Wednesdays at the office from 3 p.m. to around about 6 p.m. Sometimes it stretches to half 6. And that was also an office day for me. So I would go to the office on Wednesdays, be with my team, and at 3 p.m. I would be sitting there trying to somehow work while in class, and it just did not work. So I asked my lecturer, he is our lecturer, for us to move the class to Tuesday. Balancing work with studies is quite tricky. The first thing that I had to confront was the fact that going to the office on the same day that I have classes, for me, was impractical, because one, I still wanted to show up and work with my team. Seeing that I'm still new in the team, I needed to have assistance from my manager with some things. Being able to ask questions and interact with my manager is something that is crucial for me at this stage of the rotation. Luckily, because there's only 2 of us in the class, I could ask the lecturer for us to move the day of the class to Tuesdays, and then I come in on Wednesdays with my team. So as far as your work or your classes or school or studies in this case are concerned, try to see where the flexibility could be. For me, it was not flex, because some of the options that I had was to come in early at work, so that when I leave at 3, it's like, oh, but like she came in early, so it makes sense. I still have a full day's work done. Or it was to move the class. Coming in early wasn't going to serve the purpose of having my manager help me through some of the things. So I decided, for me, it was more helpful to have classes on Tuesdays. So I will admit that I am privileged in the sense that I could even have that request. So as far as it's possible for you to just manage those things, try to adjust, because it's just like, I was literally sitting in class, but that day class was online. The classes are normally in person, but that day it was online. So I was sitting there trying to listen to what the lecturer is saying while trying to understand a trial balance. And it's just a mess. At that point, I'm giving 50-50 to each of these things, and it's just not going to work. So it's important to understand that sometimes you need to prioritize. So that's the second tip that I have, is to prioritize your studies when you have the time. One thing I've realized, when you're a full-time student, all you do is study. You can go on and on and on and study. You don't need to balance anything. But when you are now working, you might only have just 2 hours of studying in that day that you can squeeze in. So it's very important for you to then maximize on that time and try to be as efficient as possible. So how I study now compared to last year, because obviously I was new to the content last year. So to just give you guys some context, those who might not be familiar with postgrad or CIMA. So last year I was doing my postgrad, which focused on CIMA management level as well as strategic level. So I had 4 modules. One of them was combining all the modules in management level, and the other 3 were focusing on each pillar of the strategic level. So I had finance, I had strategy, and I had risk as separate modules for the strategic level of CIMA. So now that I am studying the strategic level, it's basically revision. So it's not my first time encountering the content. So last year, obviously, I took a bit more time to understand the content and then do questions. But this year, I can attend class, basically read through the textbook to just remind myself of some of the concepts, and then go straight into questions. For me, that is an efficient way of studying, because it helps me to identify the gaps that I have, and also it helps me to see where I should focus more. Like if I understand a certain topic, I don't need to be spending as much time on that topic compared to a topic that I don't understand as well, right? So that's a strategy that I'm using right now, is to basically focus more on questions and less on theory, because I already know the content. But this might not apply to you if you are new to the content. If you're new to the content, it is very important for you to go to the textbook, make notes. I don't even make notes like that. Like I just literally just add on to the notes that I have on my, like the file that I have basically that we were given, and I just write notes on that. And when I do questions, then I will write it down. So I really strongly advise that you make the most of your time. You do not have a lot of time as a part-time student, so to speak. For those, and I'm saying this to those who are basically working and studying at the same time. Another tip that I have is ensure that you communicate with your managers, with your team. Make them aware of the fact that you are studying and when you are studying. If you are in a training program, it is expected that you are still studying and your managers are aware of that. So in my program, we sign a memorandum of agreement with each rotation, which outlines the expectations that the program has from the manager and vice versa. And one of the things that are stipulated there is that I am still studying, and that is a priority. So even if you do not have that agreement on paper, it is important for you to communicate. So I had to communicate with my manager. My manager knows that on Tuesdays I have class from 3 to 6. I cannot work beyond 3 p.m. But that also means that I need to make sure that I am productive from morning to 3 to ensure that my work is done. So it's important for you to communicate, but also take accountability for the parts that you have to do. And I think another thing that I'm learning as I am navigating studying and working is that it is very important for you to see how you can apply what you are studying at work. If as far as it's possible, like try to make it as realistic as possible, because we're at a point now where it should be an advantage that you do have working experience when it comes to your studies, especially because or for people who are studying while in the field of finance. So try to see if you've learned something, a concept or whatever it is, try to see how you can relate it to your real work. So in that way, you're adding value to your team because of your studies. So you studying is not a liability, so to speak, but it's actually an advantage to the team. So those are some of the things that I've been implementing. I will say discipline is not easy, especially because I think mostly it's because I haven't been studying for the past 8 months. Yeah, like I haven't been studying for the past 8 months. So discipline is quite tricky. So I just need to discipline myself to say that, okay, baby girl, you have to study. Okay. And another tip that I will have, if you are still in university and you are studying full-time, please do not take it for granted that you have the privilege and the gift of time. I think that's one thing that just amazes me with the fact that when you are balancing work and studying, you realize that in uni you had so much time. So make sure that you are productive with the time that you have and you make the most of it. So the plan for my studying tonight is I'm going to use the Pomodoro technique. Basically, you study for 50 minutes, rest for 10, study for another 50 minutes, rest for 10. So now you have 2 hours, and then you can take a longer break, let's say a 30 minutes break, and then back to it. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And if you have gotten to this part of the video, please write on the comment hashtag work study balance. Yeah. Okay guys, so we're ready to start studying. I have my big file here, CIMA E3 Strategic Management. This is my tuition provider. Shout out to the College of Chartered Accountants. So I will be using this strategic management textbook. So I'm gonna start with questions and then do the studying for me so that I can see where the gaps are. Sort of like it makes sense to do it like that. So let's do that. Okay, now that we are done with that study session, let us do a little bit of a debrief while we are in the break. There's a 10-minute timer going down, and it's basically going to be my break for this session. So what I did first, as you guys saw, I looked at the exam kit. This is the official Praxis exam kit from CIMA. My starting point was to see where I went wrong. Like there was a particular question that I just did not know the answer to for the life of me. Like I couldn't even guess. This is the question. The following 4 companies have taken varying approaches to strategic planning. Which of the companies have adopted a traditional approach? I didn't know what is a traditional approach to strategic planning. So while answering the question, I obviously guessed because I didn't know. But I even wrote a note that you need to come back to this and actually know what is traditional approach, which when I was marking, obviously it was one of the questions that I got wrong. I then went to the textbook. I use a PDF book. I do have the physical book, but I just prefer the PDF. 1, I can search quickly. 2, I don't want too many books. And this one, I do have that PDF to this, but I just prefer to write on it. So that's why, like I highlight, like as you can see, I highlight, I make notes, I mark and everything. So I just prefer writing on this. And then I searched on the textbook the traditional approach, which led me to the part of the textbook that talks about perspective on traditional planning, which was my starting point basically for this for the notes. I learned, okay, traditional approach, we have the market-based approach, and we have the competency approach. I wrote like 4 points max on each of them, and pros and cons. So how is this different to how I would have studied in postgrad? So in postgrad, let's consider the fact that I was a full-time student with a lot of time. Like, all I did was to study, right? Now I am preparing for an exam, 1, so I need to be very efficient. 2, I am working and studying, so I don't have as much time. So how I would have done it in postgrad would be, I normally would read the textbook, just read, like pre-reading the textbook together with the slides, and I would have the slides open, and then I would have the textbook open, and whatever is not on the slides that is I consider important to know that is on the textbook, I would then add as a note. I used to use Adobe, and it allowed me to add notes or comments on the slides. So that's what I would do as part of my pre-reading. I go to class, I take notes, add notes to the slides. So my slides would basically have pre-reading notes or comments, in-class notes or comments, as well as post-class notes and comments. So, and then after the class, I would consolidate. Basically, pre-read, attend class, consolidate. That was the strategy I used. Now, to be honest, I don't have time to do that. So right now, I attended class. I just rocked up in class and make sure that I participate in class. And there's only 2 of us, so we have to participate. And then when now I'm studying, I start with the questions and then write notes based on the things that I got wrong, and then read the textbook, like just read. And when I'm reading, I'm not taking notes of things that I know. So if it's talking about what is a strategy and stuff like that, I already know what a strategy is. So if it's something that I already know, I don't write it down. I just read through it. And the fact that I also got it correctly when it was tested in the question shows me that I know. So basically now I'm focusing more on the things that I don't know more than the things that I know. So if I know it, I'm like, cool, sharp, let's move on and focus our energy on the parts that I don't know. So that's the way that my studying is different compared to postgrad. For the next couple of sessions, I will not record them because I'm basically doing the same thing. So the time right now is 20 past 10 in the evening. I don't know what time I'm going to sleep, but I'm just going to push studying, and then I will come back a bit later and just give you guys an update on how it's going. Oh, this song is nice. Good morning guys. Oh, okay, so last night I didn't finish off the video, so I ended up studying as promised. I did finish my study session, the 3-hour study session that I planned. I did finish it, and in that 3 hours I managed to do not 1, not 2, but 2.5 chapters. So today is Sunday. I am going to church. I'm in a few. The time right now is 8:30 in the morning. My church service starts at 10:30, so I need to be there by 10 latest. The plan right now is to finish off this chapter. Last night, study session proper, like productivity was on a high level. You know, there was a point where I literally like had flashbacks of postgrad in a good way, where I was thinking about how much work I had put into postgrad and how it paid off. And so I like studying using the Pomodoro method, like you guys saw yesterday. 50 minutes studying, 10 minutes break, 50 minutes studying, 10 minutes break. Do that 3 or 4 times, then take a longer break and then come again. Obviously last night I didn't come back again. I just did the 3 hours and I was done. Let's do 50 minutes Pomodoro and then see how far we can get. and then we're gonna go to church. Then we are done. If you are using this textbook or this book, you can go to the website. Actually, on the first page it shows you that if you go to this website, www.engage.co.uk, you scratch out this bottom part and then you put in the code and your ISBN, which is here at the back. So this is to help you to have access to online resources such as a test builder, which I really like. A test builder basically allows you to choose which topics you want to be tested on. So since I've done 3 chapters, I wanted to be tested on those 3 chapters. You can select the chapters that you want, how many questions you want, whether you want it to be timed or not, and how many minutes. So if you are using these textbooks, please take advantage of that, the access that you have to additional online resources. So yeah guys, I need to get ready for church. Thank you so much for coming and studying with me. I had a really productive study weekend, so yeah, I'm happy about that. I will see you guys on the next one. If you guys have any questions, please don't forget to just leave them down below. And if you have gotten to this part of the video, I humbly ask you hashtag it will end in CGMA. It will end in CGMA, just so I know that you guys are the real ones and you are still here. And like this video, comment, subscribe, do the right thing. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.